Welcome to Blue Talks.
Yeah, so part of my ADHD is that I can't wear my hair down for very long. Starts to really irritate me on the neck. I just had headshots done, and the first few pictures, my hair's down, the rest are all up. So I was like, no, you will never see me with my hair done usually, so probably better representation with it up anyway. I think Lisa commented on my post and said, tell me you're neurodivergent without telling me you're neurodivergent. But I have always used my ADHD as my superpower. I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 40s. And so when I look back, I think, oh, okay, if we knew then what we know now, it was very, very obvious that I had ADHD right from a young age. But you just didn't live in that world of that this would hold you back. It was just, this is how the world was. I truly thought that that's how everybody's brain worked, how everybody thought. And then you start to see TikTok. I think TikTok is the movement for all of us being diagnosed with ADHD in our 40s, right? First we get TikTok diagnosed, then we go get real diagnosis. You know, when you start seeing yourself on TikTok a lot, you're like, I don't know, maybe. And turns out I definitely am. But I refuse to let that hold me back. I have had lots of health issues. I have overcome a lot of these things. But I just don't want to let that hold me back. If anything, it fuels my fire to do more things. Earlier today, I kind of talked about being an entrepreneur and what I was doing, and why. My why is because the helping other people really feeds my soul. And but a part of my life that I really had to struggle with and move through and build with is my relationship building. How many of you in this room are entrepreneurs? Okay. And how many of you get your best clients through someone you know, through a relationship? Yeah. Every time my life really shifts in a really great way, it's because I've built a relationship with the right person at the right time. When my child was young, I never wanted to put my child into childcare. So I opened a day home to do that part-time to do that full-time while I, worked on my businesses part-time, and I got to stay home with my child. They're 19 now and never ever spent time in a daycare. That was something that was important to me. Not that that's anything wrong with daycare. My grandkids are in daycare. But I really was happy around the kids because I had such messed up relationships with adults. I came from severe childhood abuse, sexual abuse. Being a drug addict, you certainly do not create beautiful relationships with other drug addicts. You step over each other to steal each other's drugs. That's about as close as you get. My dad grew up in a residential school, was so traumatized that my parents were divorced when I was so young that every time I'd see him, he'd have a new girlfriend. So he wasn't exactly the right person to take relationship advice from. My mom has borderline personality disorder. When she wasn't locked in her room, she was having fights with my stepdad, who had anger issues. I never really seen what healthy relationships were supposed to look like, not friendships, not marriages, how to raise children. Thank God I went to school and took all the psychology education that I did, and I had a really good idea of how I wanted to parent. So I actually became a parent before I became a wife. I actually never thought I would get married, ever. It was never on my radar, no desire to be with anybody long-term by any means, but I really wanted to be a mom. But I took everything from my childhood and was like, I'm going to do the exact opposite. And so now I have done the exact opposite and probably screwed my kid up in ways that they'll remind me of for the next 30 years. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. But so far, my biological canon is our youngest, and they still want to hang out with me pretty regularly. We get along pretty good. Sometimes I get a little spicy because I think that you can do more. I know how smart you are. You can do more, But then we also have, so my now husband has a daughter who is 30, who was given up for adoption when he was 17. And she came into our life in her 20s. And so we have her. And then we also together have adopted another young lady who is now 29 and has 2 kids who are 2 and 4. And we have created this beautiful family unit that wants to be together, that loves to be together, that we enjoy helping each other. And I never had anything like that growing up. I don't speak to my biological father. I avoid my biological mother like the plague. And I just was like, how am I supposed to mitigate this? Like business relationships, I figured out. I'm a good salesperson. I use that childhood bossy manipulation personality to create really surface level relationships that you do in business. And it really served me well in business. But it never took me to like that next step up to the man of my dreams, to the company of my dreams, to the customer of my dreams. And something inside of me just kept saying, you need to dig deeper. You need to build real relationships where people care enough about you that they want to help you and that you want to help them. Networking is great, especially full-time networking. So a networking where you see people on a regular basis, you're on the top of their mind, so they refer you. A perfect example of building real relationships for me has been this recent development in my life where I did have a heart attack. I went into diabetic ketoacidosis, went into a coma. They didn't think I was going to make it. I made it, but I came out with a lot of disabilities. And it's changed the way that I function. I have to think about, can I take my wheelchair? Should I take my wheelchair? Can I fit into the bathroom with the wheelchair? Am I going to be able to open this door? And I have to think about all of these things before I go to every single event that I go to. And I happen to talk about one day I want to open a daycare because I had a day home and I loved it and it was my happy place. And I was at a networking event and somebody heard me say that. And they said, I'm going to introduce you to a lady named Michelle, and she's with Goodwill. And he introduced me to Michelle at Goodwill. And Michelle and I started building this really beautiful friendship. And Goodwill offers these amazing programs to entrepreneurs that none of you have probably even heard of. They will come out and teach your company how to deal with mental health in the workspace, how to make your workspace more accessible for people with disabilities, and all these beautiful things that they will help you do. They will help you to write proper ads for the papers so that you can hire people inclusively. We got closer and we got closer, and she talked to Goodwill, and they had an event this month with DEEM, which is the Disability Employment Awareness Month here in October. They have a speaker event, and they asked me to come and speak at it because of my relationship with Michelle. I spoke there, and the president and CEO of Goodwill approached me after and said, we need to talk. And the next day, we had a 90-minute conversation that literally blew my mind. And if I hadn't built real relationships with people who trusted me and that I trusted, I'd have never been in this opportunity now where Goodwill wants to stand behind me, and we are going to start building fully accessible daycares throughout the city of Edmonton. Yeah, super excited. So it's going to be accessible to both children with disabilities and accessible to people with disabilities to come and work in there. I met a mom at this event. She's in a wheelchair. She has a baby who's 1. And this baby has been in daycare for the last 3 months. And this mom has never seen the inside of the daycare. Because there is not a single daycare in Edmonton that is accessible for wheelchairs. So we're going to make that difference. And as I start building these relationships and I do all of these things and I look at my family and I look at the relationships that I built there, I married the most amazing man on the planet. And when people ask, where did you meet your husband? I love to tell them our little story, and I stayed single for a very long time. I did a lot of self-development, a lot of work on myself, really deciding what I did and didn't want in a relationship and in a partnership. And one day my aunt came over and said, are you on Plenty of Fish? Are you on Tinder? What are you on? And I said, no, just Plenty of Fish. And she said, you need to go on Tinder right now. And I was not really having it. But to appease her, I signed up. I opened the app. I swiped right once, and it happened to be on my husband. I put it in my pocket. It beeped. He also swiped right. We planned to meet. I bailed because I'm an entrepreneur and got too busy. Planned to meet. I bailed because I'm an entrepreneur and got too busy. And I'm like, he's never going to want to meet this flaky person, never in a million years. And on Plenty of Fish, he clicked meet me. And I was like, this crazy person still wants to meet me. So I called him right away and I was like, listen, let's meet right now. Like, I'm in work clothes, my hair's in a ponytail, which now we know it always is. But, I'm like, let's just meet right now. And so we did. And I had a short period because I was doing all these other things. That first date, I swear to you all, I walked in, he smiled, I seen his giant teeth, and I was in love. That was it. I was just like, oh no, oh no. I've been single for 5 years. And he came with me for the rest of my evening's activities, got on the ground underneath trailers because I was trying to buy an RV. And our second date, we had brunch. It got interrupted by work because I'm an entrepreneur. And so I left. And then the third date, probably TMI, but I called him and said, would you like to Netflix and chill? And he didn't know what that meant. So he thought we were going to watch a movie. I thought we were going to make out, And so we hung out. And on that third date, I said, do you want to come camping with me and my best friends and my kid? And he kind of was like, oh, okay. I've never even gone on a third date in 5 years. And here I am asking this man to meet my child and my best friends. No man has met my child, ever. And he came camping. On that camping trip, I knew that I was in love. That was it. I was going to marry that man. And we did. We got married. And he is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me because I am spicy and I am a lot. And I am high maintenance. And now I'm disabled on top of all of that. And he takes the greatest care of me on the planet. But it took so much therapy, so much relationship building, so much trauma overcoming things to be able to love him the way that he also deserves and to know that I deserve to be loved that way. So one of the things that I've overcome in my life is being abused and battered and mistreated and really believed that I was worth nothing and brought myself through hard knocks. Like, it was hard work. There's a lot of therapy. It's a lot of work. I brought myself to this place that I have a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship with my children, and a healthy relationship with my career. And I look forward to changing lives for people who have disabilities here, and who knows where the next relationship will take me. Thanks so much.